Hi, I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio, and welcome to Fabulous Feasts. Fabulous Feasts is a show where we talk about how food impacts your health. You're not only what you eat, you're what you eat eats. And you can choose foods that empower you for health, that'll restore your health, that'll help you maintain your level of fitness, and if you're an athlete, help you recover better. So you are what you eat, and as Hippocrates said, let medicine be thy food and let food be thy medicine. And that's what Fabulous Feast is all about. It's exposing you to different food pairings and flavorings that you may not have otherwise used that are healthy, that are anti-inflammatory, and that are going to help you maintain your health and regain it if you lost it. Today's show is a show about veal. We're going to do veal and peas. And we're going to talk a little bit about veal because I'm really excited to talk to you about the not only nutritional value of it, but how you can get a healthier type of veal out there today. Beyond that, we're also going to pair it with some nice squash, a little delicata squash, and a wonderful salad with 3 colors, which is what I like to do. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about veal. So if you see here, I have some very nice veal scallopini. Now, it's reddish. It's not that whitish, it's that reddish. This is Strauss veal. And I'm really excited to use them because they do a couple of things that are really different with their veal. Number one, it's raised in pens. So they're allowed to walk around, they're allowed to roam around. Now, if you remember the show where we talked about chicken, some producers of chicken, they're so cooped up, their legs aren't developed at all. They just sit in their own excrement. Veal, when it walks around, when these cows walk around, when these calves rather walk around, they get to play with other calves. They're in open pens and they're fed way from local dairy farmers. So it's interesting. You hear about prosciutto di Parma. It's one of the finest prosciuttos in the world. What are those pigs fed? They're fed whey from the local farmers. So that whey that's local is really healthy for the calves. And not only that, they're humanely raised. And that's why the color is more red. There's more iron in here. In fact, Strauss Meats checks the blood of their animals to make sure they have enough nutrients and iron coming in. And of course, it's raised without antibiotics or preservatives and things like that. So I'm really excited about their product line, and that's why it's humanely raised, and I love it. Now, the veal scallopini, I pound it, okay, to get it nice and thin. And we're going to cook it with some peas today. But even though it comes sliced thin, you still have to take a look at it because some of the slices might be a little too thick. So this slice is about 3/4 of an inch thick. I'm sorry, 3/8 of an inch thick, almost a ½ inch thick. So we have 2 options with fixing that. One is if you have pretty good cutting skills, get a really sharp knife. And I'm going to take it off the saran. We'll talk about the saran in a second. If you have pretty good knife skills, you can take it and get it to that 1/8 inch thickness. Now this is a little challenging. It takes a little effort, but you do have to make sure if you want to have a really nice scallopini that it's thin. The other way you can do it, and that's a nice thin veal scallopini. The other way you can do it is to put it on a piece of old school saran wrap works best. The new cling wrap doesn't work as well. Cover it up, get out your thumper, pound it. By using the saran wrap, it spreads nicely. When you're doing it just on your cutting board, it'll have a tendency not to really spread out. So wrapping it in saran works really well, and pound it so you get to that level of about 1/8 of an inch or less. All right, that's a little bit large than what we want for this dish, so I'm just going to cut it in half. I'm going to put those over here, And I'm going to get rid of my meat. So I'm going to take the whole cutting board and put everything in the sink. Wash up. Delicata squash. We're going to prep this first because when this gets done, then the veal will be done. Everything will be done at the same time. So let's rinse the squash. The reason you make sure your delicata squash is washed because the skin's edible. So we're going to cut this and use it and leave the skin on. So make sure you make sure you wash the skin. Trim the edges. And you're going to slice it long ways. And it's like any other squash. It's going to have some seeds in it. So take a spoon, scoop out your seeds. Now, if you're somebody that likes eating pumpkin seeds, and you every now and then get them at the store, guess what? You can roast these seeds too. So scrape them out, rinse them off, throw them in your oven or toaster oven for 15 minutes or so, not even. They toast up real quickly. If you want to season them with salt or with cayenne, if you like them spicy. But you can eat these seeds just like a pumpkin seed. Just rinse off the little membrane that they're attached to. So since I like that, I'm going to save those for later. Take your delicata squash. This is really important that you slice the pieces even thickness. I go about 3/8 of an inch, not quite a half an inch, because we want it all to cook evenly. So let's slice those up. And then it's a very simple roasting. It's just like roasting any other vegetable. Toss it with a little bit of olive oil, a little salt, fresh ground pepper, black pepper, and then put them in a roasting pan, relatively high, 350 degrees. I'm sorry, 450 degrees, a little bit of olive oil, not much, a little bit of salt, pinch of pepper, because that's the way I like it. Toss them around. And it's a roasted vegetable, but the cool thing is, by the time this is done, our veal will be done, and everything will be ready at the same time. Grab your roasting pan. Lay those down. Nice even sheet. In the oven they go. 450. And nice and crisp. Usually takes about 15, 20 minutes, not that long at all. So let's go to the veal now. In our frying pan, let's turn it on. Not too high the heat. Higher than that though. Yeah, medium heat. Touch of olive oil. Now, I've already pounded the veal. And I like the sizes relatively thin, but I want to get the oil warmed up, get the pan warmed up a little bit, because we want to get a little bit of a sear on, we can just put this over here for now. I want to get a little bit of a sear on the veal. So we're going to sear it up first. Just get a little bit more heat on that. And we'll start with just a little bit of garlic in there. About 1 clove, not much. And let's get that veal going. This won't take long. We're going to get the veal cooking. Then we're going to take it out, deglaze the pan. And then after we deglaze the pan, we'll add the tomatoes and the peas. And guess what? We got veal and peas. One of the things people are concerned about with eating red meat is that it's a saturated fat. First of all, you know, veal being raised on milk, and especially this veal on whey, It's got a lower fat profile. Also, what's important is the vegetables that go with it. Your vegetation is where you get all of your anti-inflammatory nutrients. So you're going to see we're going to pair this with a squash and with a salad. So that's really important to get your vegetables in. 5 to 7 servings of vegetables a day are really essential. Yeah, 5 to 7. That means not just, this much lettuce on your salad. It means a salad this big and this much of the protein and other grains is the real problem, because grains drive inflammation. All right, there's 2 things that are going to drive an inflammatory reaction in your body. One is the amount of omega-6 fatty acids you have in your system. Omega-6 fatty acids give you inflammation, and they are found in grains and in foods that are fed grains. So you got to make sure that when you're using a beef or a veal, that its source of food, its nutrients, is grass. And the Strauss family uses their meats as grass-fed, which is great. Also, it's the amount of sugar content, the glycemic index, how quickly your blood sugar flares up and after a meal, and how long it stays up after a meal determines how inflamed you're going to get from that meal. So you want to eat foods that keep your blood sugar level. How do you do that? Well, number one, you stay away from white flour and white sugar, of course. You stay away from foods like white potatoes, which spike your blood sugar really high and keep it up for a long period of time. And you eat more foods that have high fiber. Vegetation, above ground vegetation, green leafy vegetables, celery, asparagus, bok choy, spinach, things like that have a lot of fiber. When you have a lot of fiber in your diet, it helps maintain that glycemic load from that being more level. You don't get those big spikes. So those are 2 simple ways you can help keep your blood sugar level with everyday eating. Now I got my veal in. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to keep messing around with it for a couple of reasons. I want the heat to transfer from the pan into the veal. Every time you pick it up and flip it over, pick it up and flip it over, you're letting cold air get underneath that meat, and it's going to impact the cooking. All right, so, and also I want to get a little bit of a sear on it, so I'm just going to let it cook. It's throwing off a little bit of water, which is fine, but that's just got to do its thing for a moment. Once that browns, then we'll be able to swap it out and start making the sauce. Then we put it all together and we'll be in good shape. Thank you for watching Fabulous Feasts. Now, really the question becomes, why am I, as a chiropractic doctor, talking about food and teaching cooking? That's really not what I'm trained in. I mean, I love to eat. We've always been brought up respecting our food and eating high quality food as a child. I mean, that's one of the things my dad always told us. Eat the best food you can. If you need to save money, you can save money in other parts of your life. But when it comes to eating, buy the best food you possibly can. So I've always had that concept. But again, I'm a chiropractic doctor. I deal with the spine. As a sports doctor, I deal with the shoulder and the knee, the ankle. They call me the other foot doctor. We see so many foot problems. So where does food fit in? Well, it fits in because diet is one of the 5 factors of health. Now, when we say health, what do we mean? Well, let's define it. Health is defined in Dorland's Medical Dictionary, in the medical dictionary, as 100% functioning of the body, not merely the absence of infirmity or disease. It's optimal physical, mental, and emotional well-being. That's the definition of health. So that's what I do as a chiropractic doctor. Without medication, without surgery, with natural interventions, adjustments, and diet and supplements, It's all about getting your body to reach optimum physical, mental, and emotional well-being. That's why diet is so important, because it's like your car or an airplane or a race car. If you put in high-test fuel, you're going to get better efficiency, you're going to go faster, you're going to get better combustion. If you work on regular gasoline and you're put in diesel, not a good choice. So you want that highly beneficial nutrient source for your body. Some people do run on diesel. Some people run on high test. That's my job as a chiropractic doctor, to get you to start thinking about your food, thinking about your body, and what it runs best on. We're going to start with general concepts about eating in a healthy manner. And let's face it, guys, everybody knows what a healthy diet is. It's fruits, it's vegetables, it's no coffee or minimal, it's no white sugar, it's no white flour, it's no fried foods. We all know that. So anyway, that's why I'm so passionate about diet and nutrition. But I'm not going to tell you to take a bunch of supplements if you aren't eating right. That's like a person who has, let's just say diabetes, saying, well, I'm going to eat the donut and then just take more insulin. Sure, you can do that, but what's a better choice? Don't eat the donut. So I want you to start thinking about foods, and it all starts with what Hippocrates said so many years ago: let medicine be thy food and let food be thy medicine. And that's where fabulous feasts come from. Now, we talked about diet's one of the 5 factors of health. What are the other factors? Well, rest is important. You got to make sure you got enough rest, because if you don't rest, you don't heal, you don't recover. So that's important, and we have a whole section about sleep hygiene in the office and supplements and lifestyle and what to do about that. And beyond that is exercise. You got to exercise. Some people need flexibility. Everybody needs cardio, the #1 killer in America. Some people need strength training. Did you know that men who strength train, who do resistance training, live longer? Yeah, they live longer. So little things like that is what we bring to the table. But what do you need? Well, that's our job, is to balance all of that. Cardio, flexibility, and strength training. Beyond that, we have a healthy mental attitude and, of course, chiropractic adjustments. Because the chiropractic adjustment balances the nervous system, which is the governing system for the rest of the body. That's this topic of a whole nother video, and we'll get there. But chiropractic is about diet, rest, exercise, a healthy mental attitude, and keeping your spine freely movable, because you're as young as your spine is flexible. So the veal's got nice color to it. We flipped it over. I'm going to transfer it to another plate. And I really just flipped the veal once. All right. We're going to deglaze the pan with a little bit of red wine. Just takes a moment, get those goodies off the bottom. Now, a lot of times after I pound my veal, I'll add a little salt and pepper right then. But today, since I didn't salt it ahead of time because of the show, I'm going to add some salt and the pepper as we make the sauce. So that's going to cook down, the alcohol comes off. Don't add a lot of tomatoes. It's not a pasta sauce, all right? It's a sauce for the veal, all right? And we're also going to get some fluid off of the peas. So get the tomatoes in there. San Marzano tomato. San Marzano tomatoes are going to be a little bit sweeter. If you're going to, cook with the tomatoes that really give you that sweetness. If you're going to be using other tomatoes that may have some tartness, you may need to add a little bit of onion or a little bit of carrot to give you some sweetness in the dish. So we were talking before about inflammation. Everybody thinks inflammation is bad, right? Inflammation is bad for you. Let's add some salt. Well, guess what? If you sprain your ankle and it swells up, that swelling is actually good. We want that swelling because that prevents the other tissues in the area from getting irritated, all right? It localizes the injury to one spot so the chemicals that got released don't spread throughout the body. So that's acute swelling. And acute swelling lasts 3 to 5 days. If it lasts more than that, now you're getting into chronic swelling. That's a problem, or chronic inflammation. Hey, we just got over this COVID pandemic, and everybody talks about chronic low-grade inflammation, the cytokine storm. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We want to suppress that cytokine storm. So there we go. The tomatoes are cooking really well. And how do you do that? Lots of green vegetations, omega-3 fatty acids in your diet, lots of vegetables in your diet. So we're going to put the meat back in. We're going to add peas, the low salt ones with the juice, and we're going to cover it. And as my pop used to say, my father used to say, now you got to let it marry. Now you got to let the flavors come together. We're going to let that simmer and cook, oh gosh, for about 5 minutes or so. But while we're doing that, we can plate our salad, all right? Because this is going to get paired with a salad. Why? Because it's vegetation. And your salads need to have at least 3 colors in them. What do vegetation do? What does vegetables do? It drives an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. You can have a little bit of meat. You can have a little bit of grains, but the bottom line is 70% of your diet has to be anti-inflammatory. So I'm going to go with arugula, baby arugula, and we're going to add some endive to it. And then we're going to add some golden beets. So you can take a golden beet, peel it, and then just use your potato peeler and put it right in there. And that gives me my 3 colors. Now this is really cooking hard. I'm going to bring it down a little bit because I don't want it to dry out. If it gets a little dry, I think my fire just went out. If it gets a little dry, just add a little water to it. So you can just shred some beets over it, and there you go. You have 3 colors in your salad. Why 3 colors? Because that gives you all the different anti-inflammatory properties of the colored fruits and vegetables, the xanthins, your carotenoids, greens and vegetation are where all of those goodies are. So let's dress it with some olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil would be ideal, but guess what? It's in the cabinet today, so I'm using regular olive oil. Always put your olive oil on first because you want to protect the salad from the wilting of the vinegar. We'll do a small balsamic vinegar. This definitely gets a little pinch of salt. Definitely gets fresh ground pepper. And it gets a little bit of goat cheese. Why goat cheese? Because it's easier to digest than cow's milk, and it gives it a nice little sting. It's got a little bit of a nice touch to it. All right. So that's going to be our salad. Here. And let's take a look at our peas, and looking good. See, we want that little bit of sauce in there. It's just about done. How do I know it's done? Because when you take the lid off, it goes, ooh, that's when you know it's done. No, you can tell it's done because the sauce starts to stick to the veal a little bit. All right, that's how you know. And it's got a little body to it. Now, I do need to check on our squash. Ah, perfect. Oh, baby, that's nice. I'm gonna switch hands. let's plate this up. So we're going to put some of our delicata squash on the plate. And again, you can eat the rind and everything. Let's put that, it's hot. Ooh, baby. So that makes it a nice touch. Let's take a look at our, there we go. It's thickening a little nicely. See, the tomatoes are starting to stick now to the veal. It's got some body. It's married, all right? So remember, your diet can drive inflammation in your body. If you get hurt, if you have an acute injury, inflammation is good. But chronic, everyday inflammation will make you susceptible for disease. Any itis, cirrhosis, gastritis, neuritis, arthrosclerosis, they're all itises, they're all osises, they're all inflammation. So you have lower systemic inflammation, you're going to be healthier. Your genetic expression for disease is going to be less. That's why it's really important to eat lots of vegetables. Look at this meal. We have squash. We have peas. We have some nice milk-fed, free-roaming veal. Then, yeah, this is one serving of salad, guys. This isn't the serving for the whole family. This is one serving. If you're not eating this much salad a day, you're not eating enough. And then we got arugula, we got endive, and we have beets. So lots of color, lots of flavor, and boy, if you want to have some meals that'll knock your socks off, just start using some different foods and have some fun. And the delicata squash, eat the skin and everything. It's good for you. So, peas with veal, paired it up with a little delicata squash, goat cheese, endive salad with arugula, and I think you'll have a nice meal. Veal's nice and delicate. Needs a touch more salt. Remember I said I didn't salt it before I put it in the pan, so it needs just a touch of salt. So make sure you just add a little bit of salt and pepper for flavor, but you know, that's to your taste. Well, thanks for tuning in. It's been a great show. I want to thank my sponsor for this show, Phytazole. Phytazole is a transdermal topical for pain control and helps suppress pain. It's a transdermal, which means it absorbs through the skin. And by absorbing through the skin, the active ingredient gets to the pain-sensing nerves and receptors within the skin. And the great thing about it, it penetrates through the skin, but it doesn't get into your bloodstream. So it's called a local transdermal topical. It's the only topical I'm aware of that has a local transdermal absorption and release over time. So it gets in the tissues and it slowly releases over time. The active ingredient happens to be a CBD2 isolate. That's how it works, but it goes right to those pain-sensing nerves and receptors within the skin. Great stuff. We use it all the time in the office. So thanks, Phytazole. I appreciate your support. Check it out. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. We'll see you on the next show.